Blog Talk Radio.
Alternative facts.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. At 12:07 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, numerous unidentified objects of unknown intent and unknown origin were detected at high altitudes over multiple locations of Earth's outer space by the National Radio Astronomy Observatory, and these objects are presumed to be some form of controlled aircraft. It is not known if more of these aircraft will arrive, or if they will attempt entering Earth's atmosphere. United States citizens are encouraged to monitor local media outlets, as more updates will follow as information becomes available. The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government. Attacks by the undead have been reported in several states across the country. The dead are rising from their graves and are attacking the human race. At this time, it is expected that more attacks of this nature will occur in several other states in the next few hours. The intent behind the attack is unknown at this time. He has been observed that a bite or exchange of fluids is a method of transmission. This is an extremely dangerous situation if they crave the taste of human flesh. It is not known whether this event will last for hours, days, or even longer. Stay calm, as authorities have been dispatched to deal with these creatures. An all-clear siren will be sounded when this situation is under control. Pacific Standard Time, nor is detected a long-range nuclear missile launching. This missile is believed to be headed in the direction of all residents within a 400-mile radius of this area should seek a fallout shelter immediately.
Welcome to Within the Chaos with your host, Rodney the Viking Shortridge, co-host, Melinda the Raven Jackson. Want to give a big old shout out to the Facebook paranormal groups that allow us to post our shows on their pages and helping us to get the word out about all of our guests. Also, a shout out to the Connor sisters. Hats off to Misty and Ashley. They are the founders of SOS Sisters of Salem Paranormal Research Society and host of their podcast, Paranormal Party. You can find them on Facebook under Paranormal Party. If anyone would like to speak to Black Diamond Paranormal Society, BDPS, to discuss your paranormal questions or issues, go to our website at blackdiamondps.org or email blackdiamondps@yahoo.com. As always, our services are free.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. You can listen in by calling 516-387-1922, or you can go to the Vibe Radio Network website at blogtalkradio.com/Vibe Radio Network. For deep within the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you for listening to Within the Chaos. My name is Rodney Shortridge, and I'll be your host tonight. along with my beautiful Raven, Melinda Jackson. First off, I'd like to give a shout out to my cousins up in Ohio, Jennifer and Joe Shortridge of 222 Paranormal. If you get a chance, check out their talk show. You can find them on Facebook under 222 Paranormal.
Have your devices just randomly stopped working? Are you having IT trouble? Not to worry, Mead's PC Repair Shop can help. We also offer IT support too, including website hosting. We are now also offering full event management services. To find out more, contact our friendly customer service team who will gladly help in any situation. Just call 276-880-8900, or if you prefer, you can stop by our shop at 1089 St. Clair Street, Oakwood, Virginia, 24631 by appointment only, or by visiting the website at meadspcshop.com for more information. Thank you.
Well, tonight our special guest is author Cyrus Alderwood. He was born in Fort Lauderdale and raised in the Appalachian Mountains of Virginia. Cyrus brings a unique and creative style to his work, often referred to as unconventional. He writes across multiple genres that include horror and comedy. And his work, Tales from the Sunset Pub, you'll see the range in the various stories that are based on a group of savages from Cincinnati that he calls friends. Well, I'm going to go ahead, since I ain't got nothing else to say, and go ahead and get him on. Let's see here. Well, it's my honor to welcome our special guest, Cyrus Alderwood. Hello, Cyrus, and thank you for joining us tonight. It's an honor to have you on the show, bud.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Rodney. How you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Well, if I were doing any better, I'd probably be in trouble somewhere, but I guess that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. I'd like to be that good. I ain't that good yet, but I've been chasing that dream.
Well, to get there, you have to be kind of lazy. You have to have a scotch too many on occasion, and probably too many books laying around, too many movies to watch.
Oh, okay.
Well, you for trying, so you'll get there, right? One of these days.
One of these days.
That kind of dream.
Well, I've got the body for being lazy, but I try not to be lazy, so I don't get no bigger.
I'm working on the kind of body that would make me a pro bowler at some point down the road.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Well, Cyrus, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you into writing in the first place?
Well, I guess just a little bit about myself. I grew up here in Central Appalachia, and I was one of those kids that never really liked to read very much when I was growing up. Ironically, now when I'm older, I'm a writer. But I was always just captivated by things of entertainment, different kinds of movies, from horror to comedy to sci-fi. And that's kind of what I guess my creative juices going earlier. And started writing years ago, actually 19 years ago. Almost to the date, in Cincinnati, Ohio. I moved there, left Radford, and moved to Cincinnati to take a job there and to, mostly watch baseball because I was a Reds fan. So I moved there mostly to watch baseball and had a job. And a friend of mine that was from here, that lived there at the time, just gave me a tour of the city, and we went through this old cemetery called Spring Grove Cemetery. And it was so beautiful and peaceful, but yet kind of macabre at the same time. And that's really when that day I started thinking about I'd like to write a book. And then a story started building in my head. And it was back in June of 2000 that the writing bug hit me. And I thought I'd write one book, but never stopped. So here I am today with, 8 books out now and another one coming out in May.
Wow. I've tried. A lot of people ask me why haven't I wrote a book. Because the way I write is how I speak, and it don't go over too well. Everybody's like, well, why'd you throw a fuck in there or shit there? Well, because that's the way I talk.
Yeah, well, you never know. You got to write to an audience, right? So,
yeah.
I look at Stephen King. I mean, he's got a lot of salty language through his books, and a lot of the horror movies and I mean, how many times? I could probably count the number of times that Freddy Krueger swears in the film. So hey, you write to an audience. But
I don't know if
I encourage everybody to write, actually.
Now, my daughter, she's a writer. She published a little short stories about a story that related to me and the way I told it and her perspective of hearing it. And when I read it, I was like, why am I reading this twice? And I'm like, why does it sound different? And she had explained to me that she wrote it in two different, her perspective. And I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it. But yeah, she's an English major and all that, and she loves to read and write. She's always got a book in her face.
So it's no stranger to her. She's no stranger to the fact that writing a book one way and writing a book being somebody from Central Appalachia, two very different types of writing. But it goes over well. I mean, they've made movies based off of stuff here, and maybe she can get you to encourage you to write at some point too.
Well, what she's encouraged me to do is just either videotape myself telling about my life or recording it. And she said, I'll write it, Dad, and I'll make all the money. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. What?
She's pretty smart, is what you're telling me, right? She's pretty smart.
Yeah, she told me that when she was in last week on spring break because she teaches up there in Waynesboro. And she's like, Daddy, I wasn't going to tell you this, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you. I've been writing about you and the family and growing up and how we was so poor and how, you was working so hard and just couldn't make it, ends meet. And she's like, I'm not going to publish it right now. I'm going to wait till you die. I asked her, I said, why? She said, I can't make, I make more money if you're dead.
Yeah, just ask Elvis.
No shit.
And half the Beatles, yeah. You get rich after you're dead.
Yeah.
That's what happened with F. Scott Fitzgerald. He wrote all the Great Gatsby and a lot of other novels, but the family never really got rich until after he died, and those novels really, I guess, caught more traction, and that's when they started promoting them more. And it was his estate that made all the money, not him.
That's how it goes. Well, at least maybe they'll take, she'll make some money off my life. I don't know why it's boring, but she thinks it's exciting and interesting, but enough about me.
Yeah, I want to make money off my books while I'm alive. Yeah, I'd want to be able to waste it all before I'm dead.
Exactly. I mean, ain't that part the point of being an author and a writer is to, sell books, make some money, write more books, make some more money, and be able to live it out until you pass away.
Yeah, waste it all, slide into the grave dead broke. That's the way you go.
That's exactly right. Then your kid's sitting there going, what happened to all his money? He drunk it all. Damn,
play Vegas for it. They legalized gambling,
Yeah, gambling, prostitutes, and drinking.
Yeah, the 4 boats he wrecked on the lake. That'll do it.
Yeah. Well, can you explain your process of writing? How do you sit down and when you have an idea and write and start writing?
Yeah, sometimes it depends on what kind of book you're writing. But if you're writing a full-length novel, when I first started, it was kind of fly by the seat of your pants. I had no idea what I was doing. But all these years later, pretty much the way I write a novel is, I have an idea in my head, and I kind of let it stew for a couple of days. If it's one of those that sticks around, then it's kind of good enough for a story. I'll let it stew and stick around, bounce around for a couple of days, or a couple of weeks even, and then I'll maybe take a couple of pages of notes on it. That's all I'll do. And then I'll just kind of think about it. And then as I start seeing a movie in my head, over time, I'll kind of plot out maybe like a loose outline of what the story is. But before I get too deep in the story, I'll ask myself, what kind of character, what kind of person do I see living this life that I'm about to write about, or this journey or adventure? And then I do just a bio of these characters. And then I go back and I do a little bit more of a well-rounded outline 3 or 4 parts of what the book would look like. Then I'll worry about chapters later. But sometimes it can take a story will come up on me, and I have the entire outline front to back and can start the writing process in a month. Sometimes it takes 6, 8, 12 months. The one that I just finished, I'm in the editing process of it now. It comes out in May. I got the idea from just watching documentaries on TV, things like Ancient Aliens and Unsolved Mysteries, things like that. And I saw this thing called the Georgia Guidestones. I kind of got fascinated with it, and for whatever reason I kept thinking about it, and I did some web research on it. And eventually got to the point, it's like, you know what, that place is not that far from here. I'm just going to get in the car one day and just go down there and look at it, go see it for myself. So I did. I drove down to Elberton, Georgia. And have you ever heard of the Georgia Guidestones?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you got this 20-foot tall monument that they call America's Stonehenge. And just for the listeners that may not know what it is, it fascinated me because there was a guy back in 1979 that walked into a granite business in Elberton, Georgia. And Elberton is, like they call it, the granite capital of the world. So they make all the stuff that they send out for headstones and tombstones across the country. So any of the stuff when you drive by the cemetery, probably a chunk of that's made in Elberton. So the guy walks in, and he gives the name Robert C. Christian, gives the guy a fake name, and lays out this set of blueprints in front of it, of this monument that he wants built that looks like Stonehenge. But it was very detailed because they wanted, it was a set of like what he called the 10 Commandments of New Age of Reason, or 10 Guides. And he wanted big giant slabs of granite carved out, not laid in pieces like they normally do. So that was a task in and of itself. And he wanted them carved in, the guides carved in. But not just in English. He wanted it in 8 different languages, front and back of each slab, of these 4 major slabs. And then he wanted a capstone that had the same guides carved into it in 4 ancient languages. And it was kind of odd, and like the center piece of the capstone had to be placed a certain way and had the holes drilled through it to be astrologically correct to match up with solstices. And the guy looked at him, he thought he was nuts. So he's like, okay, R.C. Christian, is that your real name? He said, no. So he quotes him this unusual, outrageous price, thinking the guy would just go away because he thought it was crazy. Well, the guy didn't go away. Came back the next day. And he said that his backers, they had been planning this for about 20 years. They were going to pay it. So he kept raising the price on the guy, and they said, well, we're going to pay whatever it is. So sure enough, they commissioned it, and he had to go to a local bank. The only people who knew the real identity of this guy, president of the local bank, because he had to set the account up to wire the funds in, have the funds put in before the guy at the granite company would do it, and the owner of the granite company. And they had to sign a non-disclosure agreement that they would never say who he was. They had to take his name to the grave. So they built it, and in 1980, the monument was put up, and it's in the town limits, I think, of Elberton, but it's in Elbert County, and it cost, I think, about $500,000, something like that. It was some crazy amount. So anyway, once it was put up, he bought some land from a guy who owned like cattle farm. So he bought some land from a farmer, but gave the rights, the grazing rights, all the way up to the guidestones, and transferred the ownership of the land back to the county. And so the county would not have to be worried about taxes. Now, he did all this without anybody finding out his name, not even the IRS. So it had to be somebody that had some clout. So to this day, no one knows who the real identity of this man is, or what the purpose of those were. Right? So you got these guidestones that are, setting up in the middle of the field, and I had to go see them for myself. And I tried to talk to some people in town, but people were very standoffish, and nobody really wanted to talk to me because they realized I was a writer and I wanted to write a book about it. So that's what got me fascinated about it. So that was the very beginning of me learning how to, doing this book. So that was my process. And over several months, I just kind of built this story into my head where I saw it like a movie. And then finally I did a, rough outline. started the writing process and finished it. Now I'm doing the editing.
Mm-hmm.
So, sometimes it's a long process. Sometimes it's a short story. You can just bang it out quickly. It kind of depends on what you're writing.
What type of writing do you enjoy most doing?
Well, I've got my teeth writing horror, and the only reason I did that, I started writing horror because it was most familiar to me at the time, because I was such a big fan of horror films. But so I wrote a 4-part series that was in the horror genre, and I really didn't get into comedy writing until just a handful of years ago. When I was actually kind of a sad story, I was going through a really bad depression, and I knew that's not my character. So I was like, man, I got to, I'm kind of a goofball anyway, so I got to kind of work my way out of this. So I started writing this comedy called Pot of Gold, where I was kind of poking fun at myself. But so since then I've kind of adopted a little bit of what they call a gonzo style, if you're familiar with Hunter S. Thompson. And I kind of mix a little comedy with a little horror and, anything in between. Now, the one that's coming out next month is, I would call it like a biblical thriller, kind of like End Times. It's called Revelation Calling. And so it's, kind of way off the beaten path of what I normally write. But, I think probably that dramatic style, that horror, and then just probably straight-up comedy is kind of what I like writing most at this point. Because it's more fun that way. You can it doesn't feel like so much work when you write something like that.
Oh, okay.
And plus, when people read it and you get feedback on it, the most recent one I wrote, I'm getting a lot of great feedback on it because it seems like everybody that's reading it's just laughing their asses off. It's called The Gonzo Chronicles of Barry Dick, the Supernatural Sleuth. So I've got this guy. It's kind of like X-Files meets The Hangover meets American Pie. It's kind of one of those mashup things where it's this guy goes out to investigate anything that's weird now, and he's just kind of a little too old to be a party animal, but still trying to do it a little anyway, and just finds himself in like the weirdest situations. So I just try to think of, I've got this crazy character. What's the craziest thing, the stupidest thing that can happen to this guy that he can't get himself out of without the help of his 2 female assistants? So I come up with Barry Dick. That's how that came out.
Love the name.
I know it's an eye catcher. It really is. So I just had a newly redesigned cover by Gary Quassett, and he's got some stuff out on his own on Amazon too. Great artist. So it's one of those books. It's not really a book. It's more like a party. So I just got to give the reader a little. If you're looking for maybe an intro into something that I write, if you enjoy a good laugh, you do want to try The Gonzo Chronicles of Barry Dick, and here's why. Here's the kind of the crux of the story without giving anything away. You got this guy who's in California, kind of down on his luck. He just got fired from his job that he was out there to do. He drove all the way across country because he's terrified of flying. He's afraid of heights. So he drives all the way across country. His ass is still numb from sitting in the car so long. And he loses his job from an insurance company that had hired him because he forgot to renew his license. I mean, he's kind of a slob, So here he is in this bar, and this girl's talking to him. And he's thinking, holy cow, somebody's actually interested in what I do. This young, really pretty redhead's talking to me. And anyway, he gets to the point where he's inebriated. He's going to the bathroom. And as he's going in there, he feels this tickle down his neck, right? This is how the story starts. He gets bitten on the nipple by a black widow. So this guy's trying his best not to piss all over himself and goes, anyway, ends up back in his hotel room. The bite was bad enough he ended up in the hospital. Right? So the next morning he wakes up, this girl's beating on his hotel door because she wants her money back on the bar tab he stuck her with. But her brother went missing. And that's why she was there talking with him. When she found out he was a PI, he wanted her help, or she wanted his help, because her brother, even though everybody thinks he's crazy, said he was going to be abducted by aliens on a certain date, and that's the very date he went missing. So, Hitch, you got this guy who's going cross country trying to find out about this guy that went missing that claimed he was going to go party with the aliens. And so he picks up the trail, and he's tracing this guy across country with his sister and his even hotter ex-wife. So tried to find this guy, and you kind of mash it up with the craziest stuff like conspiracy theories and roadside attractions along the way, and it's like The Hangover trying to chase aliens. And it's really a twist. But it's a funny story. So yeah, if you want to kind of get an intro into Chronicles of Barry Dick, the Gonzo Chronicles, it's online. It's on Amazon.
Yeah, I got to get
that.
that.
If you don't laugh at that, something's wrong with you. I'm just going to tell you right now. That if you don't think that's funny, then just don't read anything else I write. So, but it is a kind of a short novel, so it's not like terribly long. And I've got a couple of books that are short stories too. So if you like those and don't want to get stuck in the middle of the novel taking too long, if you're a slow reader, then you can check out some of the other stuff.
That sounds awesome. I have to check that out. Well,
yeah, you can look at the Alien Con. Yeah, it's a trip.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, who's your favorite authors? And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Who's your favorite authors?
Oh, I got quite a few. The one that sticks out most is probably Hunter S. Thompson. And he used to write a lot of like political satire, but he wrote things like the Rum Diaries. I don't know if anybody remembers that movie. It had Johnny Depp in it. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. He wrote that, and that was also a Johnny Depp movie that was absolutely hilarious. But that's kind of a little bit of the style. I don't mimic style, but kind of I guess meshed with mine a little bit. And that's why I called that last book The Gonzo Chronicles, because it's written from that type of perspective and that style. But, I really, as much as I hated reading in high school, because I guess the teachers that made you read, I didn't like it. But when I got out, I really started reading a lot of the classics. And I know it kind of bores a lot of people, but Steinbeck is one of my favorite writers. Still to this day, a book I can read over and over is called Cannery Row, because he kind of broke the mold with, I guess, just character development and the fact that there was no good guys and bad guys. Everybody was a shade of gray. Everybody had good attributes and bad attributes, and he played those up. So you really didn't know who to cheer for in different parts of the book, But but it was a really good story, and set back in the Depression era in California. So every time I read that book, I can literally read it from a different character's perspective, and it never got old. But as far as approach from, I guess, the way I write now, as far as the process, F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Great Gatsby, Love of the Last Tycoon, those books, Side of Paradise, I really kind of, that time period just kind of captivated me too, because anytime I watch a documentary on that time period, or even a documentary in general, I'm watching that thing like I'm studying for a test. I have no idea why, but I'm like that. So, but him, and then the beat writers of the 50s that kind of led to the counterculture writers of the 60s and 70s. Jack Kerouac was a great writer. His biggest hit was called On the Road. The one that I read first was called The Dharma Bums, but it really was just a good look and where you could. You felt like you were part of that era. He really captured an era really well. So, yeah, when you read writers like that, you just kind of hope that you can pick up their best traits and kind of mimic what they're doing and be as effective as they are. Mm-hmm. But those are a handful. But there's a lot of really good writers, especially independent writers these days, that don't get the big book deals with big publishing agencies or and have well-known agents. Not everybody's going to be a Stephen King and be that successful, but there are a lot of independent writers out there that do a great job too.
Mm-hmm. Well, who would you say is your most challenging character in your books?
Oh, wow, that's a tough question. Most challenging. I think probably the first comedy I wrote, I tried to, there was a couple of characters, and I based both of them a little bit off of me. JD and Pete in the book Pot of Gold. And I think probably JD was the toughest character to write, because even though I think when people read it, they they see a full character development, and he's a good character, he's a strong character, but I think at the same time, I guess from a psychological point of view, I was still kind of going through a depression. I was kind of running away from myself in a way, and I put more emphasis on the side story between the character Pete and the other person that they picked up in the story, Sarah. So I kind of had a little bit more fun with that, but I think by doing that, it made it a better story, if that makes sense. But tackling the character of JD was very personal. That was probably the toughest character I've written about.
Okay.
So yeah, writing my way out of a depression was, man, that was a beast to pull off. But again, a very funny book, and like the themes and the undertones of it are very positive in the end. But yeah, that's another book that I think very personal. That I really wish would do well in the long run.
Well, what advice would you give a new up-and-coming writer?
I think, first and foremost, find out how serious you are about being a writer. Because to do this for so long without any bestseller success or anything, you got to love what you do, what you're doing. It's got to be a passion. So if it's one of these things where you're kind of like a one-hit wonder, then write your one book, and that's great. But I would challenge a writer to get up every morning if they want to be a writer and at least find interesting writing prompts that you can buy a book on or just like do a web search on and find a topic to write about and write a short essay every morning, even if it's 1 or 2 pages, to see how much of a passion it is. I would probably, if I could go back and give myself that advice, I would have done that because it probably made me a better writer a lot quicker than trial and error probably for the first 10 years, really. But yeah, just learn to love it. Have fun with it, too. If you're not having fun with it, then there's no point in doing it. I know people who have struggled to write books that are memoirs. Memoirs are hard to write because, well, I'll just ask you this. When you think about something in the past, if you were going to write a memoir on yourself, what would be the first couple of things you think of you'd put in your book?
I guess I'd start out from the beginning, name my grandparents, my parents, where I was born, the
if you
boring.
could pick a couple of events in your life that would change you somehow. Yeah.
I'd say I would start out with my ex-wife, her being such a, yes, and I'm going to say this word. Any of you ladies out there hear this and get offended, I'm sorry, but she is a cunt. I would write about her and about how, I struggled from the time, she took the boys when they were 1 and 6 months old away from me, and it was a struggle all the way to the time that they were 16 of constantly going to court, paying child support, always having to, the harder I worked, the more she'd take. So, and how it put us in, the money I made, because I was over the road truck driver. Well, first I was a manager at a print shop in Roanoke, and I was making damn good money for the time. But the more I made, the more she took. And, I was already remarried and had 2 daughters, and it just made our lives that much tougher. But that was a huge event that really fucked my life up.
And that's you made my point exactly about writing a memoir. So people that write that for the first time, how much fun are you going to have? Because, the first thing you think about when you think about memories, and just for most people, they think some of the worst things. The death of somebody, a divorce, or, things that were terrible in their life. Well, that's why it's hard to write a memoir, because you kind of want to put more emphasis on those types of things than the good things, because they're easier to overlook or forget, for that matter. So that's why memoir writers, usually when they first start, that's the last thing they write, because it was such a hard thing to do. And I don't know if I could write a memoir because of that, because it'd be kind of tough to do like justice to the good parts of your life, and you're like a lot of us, you try to look to the optimistic side. You don't want to look at the negative and dwell on that, because you got to move forward, and life, the sooner life gets better, right? So that's why it's tough for memoir writers. So that I would kind of, that again, back to that advice thing is have fun with it. Even if you're writing something like that, get up every day and write something fun. That's what's going to keep you going, even when you're writing, like going through periods of writing bad things.
Right.
So, yeah, but it's just kind of one of those things a lot of people don't think about. But memoirs are just, it's like 6 months of crying, right, to get one out, and it's not easy. But I've talked to several memoir writers locally, and thankfully they've kept on with their next works.
Yeah, I can see where that would be. If you're trying to write about your life, and I'm sure the negative always seems to have more of an impact than the happy.
Yeah, it does. And I can think of a dozen things right now off the top of my head that were negative or terrible things that I still remember that left a wound. But I don't live there. And when you write something like that, you kind of have to relive it. And it's just one of those things. Sometimes you got to ask yourself, is it worth it? Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
For some people, if they can balance the good with the bad, then that's good. But that's tough to do for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's true. I'm unfortunately I'm one of those people. I mean, I remember a lot of the good, and I talk a lot about the good shit I've done, especially kids, growing up and me, young man and all, and they love to hear those stories, but somehow the darkness will creep in, and then, it ties into what happiness it did have, and then it goes down to, like my daughter says, a dark alley, and then Daddy, you have to walk us through it and then bring us back to the light again. And she's like, you beat us up. You don't mean to, but you do.
Yeah, and that was part of that comedy, Pot of Gold, because part of the theme was, as funny as that thing was, it's a book I was literally sitting there laughing my ass off while I was writing it. But, the character had to really come to a point that he realized, like, I got to put all that bad stuff behind me, and how he did that. It's kind of like a philosophical journey. That place where you lose yourself and you find yourself. Mm-hmm. I really like that theme because I picked that up in like writers like Jack Kerouac and some of the beat writers, and and especially with even F. Scott Fitzgerald in The Great Gatsby. But some of those characters, that's the part where they lost themselves and never found themselves. That's the difference between a drama and somebody can move forward, and a comedy really is the direction you want to take the character. Yeah. But it's fun. I've had fun with every book I've written, whether it's war or this most recent one, or even some of these slapstick comedies. But I'm holding out hope, Rodney, that I'm going to get invited to an Alien Con one day, because this Barry Dick series, I think it's going to be a series, or it'll be one of those Alien Cons or one of those festivals, and there's going to be screaming people there that love the book so much that they're going to keep saying, "We want Dick, and you're going to hear that chant, right? And I'm going to be thinking, are they talking about me or the book? Who knows, right? So I'll saunter up on stage with a half-empty bottle of scotch and whatever. But the guy's got a dream, right?
That's right.
If they pulled that off at Alien Con, that'd be my last Alien Con. It doesn't get any better than that, right?
All right. Well, if you come to Phantom Fest this year and I hear chanting "We want Dick" by a bunch of women, I'm going to be running out too, going, huh, who, what, me? You talking to me? I'm sorry, every guy in there is going to be like, me, huh? You talking to me?
Are they talking about my character in the books? Or are they like calling me a bad name? What are they doing? I don't know. They're calling. I'd be so confused. Like, are they calling me a name? Or are they wanting the book? I don't know.
And then see you roll out there about 10 damn women, little hotties, and under each arm, and I'll be like, wow.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not Hugh Hefner. I don't have the Hugh Hefner smoking jacket, so.
Yeah, it don't matter. All the rest of those guys will be sitting there going, I guess they wanted his dick, damn it.
Old Hef, I guess. You see?
Hef.
Old Hef, man.
Wow. I couldn't imagine that.
I'm not even going to touch what you just said with a 10-foot pole. I'm not even going there.
Okay.
I'll just let you ride that wave. You can explain that to other people. That's funny. But yeah, that's kind of my goal in life. If you have me chanting that as Alien Con, I'd be like, I'd just be so confused. Are they insulting me? Or they really like that book? I just don't know. Well, one day, maybe I'll just show up at Alien Con anyway. But now I've got a couple of scenes in books where I put them in Alien Con.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've ever been to one of those, but I've seen pictures. I know people have been. And people have traveled up to Area 51 and out on the ET Highway. And that's still on the bucket list. My next trip is not going to be back to the Georgia Guidestones, but I think I'm going up to Point Pleasant to look at the Mothman.
Now, see, we went to Point Pleasant a couple of years ago at the festival, and I think we're going to go up there again this year. And it's fun. It's I've got a friend of mine that actually he lived up there for a couple of years just investigating the whole Mothman thing, and he got some interesting evidence, but like he said, he didn't get anything solid. But he said the people in that town, they believe what they saw, and they believe it's still around or comes around.
Oh yeah, there's no convincing them otherwise. And it was like going down to Georgia, where the Guidestones were in Elberton. You couldn't get those people to talk. Like I mean, it's exact opposite. They're so talkative in West Virginia about that, but down there in Elberton, it's like that redheaded stepchild in the closet. Nobody wants to admit to it. And I did get one guy to talk to me. One guy that talked to me as I was writing this book because I needed some local perspective, and he wouldn't let me use his name.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he was the only, I would say, relatively prominent there in the community. But he was like, "Yeah, you cannot use my name."
It's funny how some towns embrace any type of supernatural or crypto or UFO encounter, and then there's other towns, they don't want nothing to do with it, even if it does have an opportunity to bring in some tourism and some money to a town that's falling apart. I mean, I ran into that with Pocahontas. We was up there for 8 years investigating, then almost the entire town and the cemetery and stuff, and I even was on A&E's My Ghost Story talking about the cemetery. Did they embrace it? Nope. They actually fought me tooth and nail until they finally kicked me out.
Yeah, it's amazing. And, some places are like that. It's even surprising, like, excuse me, in Phoenix, when they had was this maybe 1998? When they had the Phoenix, they called it the Phoenix Lights.
Mm-hmm.
And for a few nights, those lights would come up. And the military's claiming that it was, what were they called? Flares. Flares.
Yeah.
But they weren't. They were so symmetrical, and they didn't drop like flares. And since then, we've seen people try to replicate that experiment. People in Phoenix, even from the city council, are like, no, there's nothing there. And the one person who did believe it was something and wanted to look into it, got ousted off the city council, and then they've been kind of ostracized. To some degree, from what I understand, from what I've seen, read. But, they had no political future after that. And nobody out there really, I'm sure you find like pockets of people talk about it. It's a big city, but that was just something that fascinated me it was on a national scale. And you have people out there kind of, well, okay, we lived it up for a couple of weeks, 115 minutes, and we're past it, and we don't care what it was now. Well, there's people who probably have some explaining to do, but nobody wants to talk about it, So,
well, see,
it's crazy how it's like that from place to place.
When I was driving a truck, I was driving down towards Phoenix one night, and back then I used to listen to Art Bell late at night, and it's about 2:30 in the morning their time, and I heard, Art Bell was talking about this UFO. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was from out of Washington State. And he called Art Bell and said that there was a sighting of a fireball or a UFO in the Phoenix area. Well, I was probably about 50 miles out of Phoenix, so I'm automatically looking up at the sky going, well, I don't see no fireball. And it was maybe 2 minutes later, kept listening to them. There's a big-ass fireball shot across the damn interstate. And then about, I don't know, 10 seconds later, 2 Air Force jets with their, I mean, they had them damn jets cranked open. They was spitting out a blue flame as long as it looked like 2 miles, chasing it. And I was watching it. It turned so sharp and started to go back up north that those jets, you could see them when they went to make their turn, they had to go way out so you barely could see them and then started back up north.
Wow.
And I was just like, I can't believe I'm actually seeing this.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen anything like that, but I mean, you see enough accounts of it that, you know, people have looked into things that, yeah, you never know what they are. And it could be something completely rational, but the less that people want to talk about it, the more you're going to think that it's something, that they have something to hide. And so I think, you know, when you look at all that, and there's tons of circumstantial evidence about, you know, UFOs and things like that, but you know, when you add it up, it's a lot of questions that are out there. But at the same time, I think some people, maybe even in that community that investigate that, kind of use it for 15 minutes fame, you know, sell a few extra books, and you wonder how much is fabricated and how much is really true, even coming from the UFO community that's supposed to research it and things like that. So I'm kind of a little bit wary about that, but I'm addicted to the Ancient Alien show. but I know that they need ratings too, right? So they have to sell commercial time. The more people are watching, you know, so how much of it's actual fact and how much is, you know, let's plant that question out there even though we have no real answer, and, you know, get more people curious, you know. So, but definitely an interesting topic.
Well, I know you're a big fan of ufology. You know, have you ever had a UFO experience?
Never. Now, let me this one instance. Something crazy happened one night, and you got to bear with me for a minute. It was late, and there was a power outage here. And I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? It's kind of cold, right? So I go to bed. The power never came back on. I was watching TV. So anyway, I just go to bed. I wait, suddenly at I don't know what time it was, middle of the night. I wake up and there's just a light flashing straight in my eyes, Rodney. It's bright. I can't see anything. But I hear this mumbling. People are talking, right? But I can't understand what they're saying. And I'm thinking, for about 2 seconds, I'm like, I just got abducted by aliens. And suddenly I'm worried about my ass. Okay? And then I realized, wait a minute, the power came back on. I left the bedroom light on when the power went out, and the TV cut back on in the living room. That's what I heard. So it took me 3 or 4 seconds to figure it out, but in that 3 or 4 second time, I think I've watched enough of these movies and shows that I'm like, oh my God, I got abducted. Please don't hurt my ass. That's the first thing I thought. So no, that's my only alien experience. But you know what? I'd love to go out to Roswell, poke around there for a little bit, drive up and down the ET highway, go as far toward Area 51 as I could without getting shot down, and just kind of explore a little bit. Maybe talk to some people that have seen some things, and pop in on some people that do podcasts out west, radio shows to kind of, I guess, gauge their, because I'm always I look at this stuff like it's a research project all the time. So yeah, I'm totally a nerd into that stuff. But it'd be a fun trip to make and talk to people who claim to have experiences as I drive over.
Now, I've been to Roswell, and it's fascinating. Those people there, they accept it and embrace it. And granted, they're making money off of it, but
they're tourist dollars, yeah. So.
Yeah, but that's right. It's tourist dollars, and they'll talk to you about anything. I mean, they're great people, and right in the middle of nowhere. So.
Yeah, right in the middle of nowhere is exactly it. And a lot of sightings that you hear about are right in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So not just, that, but even kind of paranormal sightings, or whether it's like, you get into the cryptozoology or, ufology or anything like, Skinwalker Ranch that people talk about a lot. So there are things out there that people have questions about. And, I'm not so close-minded that, I can't say I've ever seen anything, but who's to say that there's not? I mean, they're discovering new planets all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's countless planets out there that are Earth-like that have the ability to have life. So, I mean, there's always that. So, I don't know. If I ever see anything, great. If I don't, I guess that's okay, too, because I don't need the whip scared out of me like I did that night when the lights came back on. I don't want to be that Travis guy from Fire in the Sky.
Yeah.
And that, but in all seriousness, that guy, I guess, still is scarred to this day, because I think they used his story and kind of changed it up for the movie purposes, and I guess he's pretty well known in certain circles, but I think a lot of people used his story and kind of got it wrong for their own benefit. So it would be interesting to hear him talk somewhere.
Yeah, it's hard to, I've been trying to find him to where I could get him on the show, and I just keep hitting walls, but maybe you'll get lucky.
He seems like you'd be a hard guy to corral to talk.
Yeah. I know I had Erica Lukes on last week, and, she's invited me twice to come to Utah to sit back and UFO watch with her, and I really would like to do that.
Yeah, no, she has a good show that, I don't listen to it all the time, but she uploads it to YouTube, and I think it's like a 2-hour show most of the time, but 2 or 3. But she has some very serious-minded guests on about all the topics, and she seems like one of those that's more like, let's get the facts, let's not worry about the fabrication and, all the what-ifs, unless there's a reason to ask what-ifs, So that's a good thing about her show and her research. So hopefully a lot of people that have been burned out by groups like MUFON don't get out of it entirely, even if they maybe need to take a break, I understand that, but hopefully some of the more serious-minded people that will stick around and, I guess bring that area of research back to more credibility over time.
Yeah.
Some people, I guess, have messed up. Yeah.
That's what happens when you have big organizations like that and a lot of money involved. It starts
it's
corrupt.
Politics, internal politics, and it's just like a corporation. Everybody's playing politics in the office, and it's no fun. It's not helpful to anything accurate in the long run. You just kind of hurt I guess the move. I would say it's a movement. It's people looking for truth. Who knows if there's anything out there? But if I saw something that made me think otherwise, first thing I would try to do is debunk it. But if you can't really debunk it, then let's ask the next relevant questions that's in a scientific sort of way, and I think that's what some people are missing. It's more of let's fabricate it and make a good show. And where everybody wants on TV. Stir up the conspiracy theories,
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
But I'm not gonna lie, they're fun to watch. I watch every one of them that comes on usually, so I can't say too much about it. If somebody asked me to come on one of those shows, yeah, I'd do it. Why not? But anyway, because I'm kind of a goofball anyway. I think one of the reasons I like to write this stuff, Rodney, whether it's supernatural or paranormal, whatever, those topics, is because a lot of people don't know about them. Like, you wouldn't know what missing 411 was unless you kind of stumbled upon it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a guy by the name of David Paulides who does a lot of research on, just people who may not know what that is, missing 411 is kind of like a code word for people who have gone missing in national forests and public lands that are unsolved, that didn't fall in the realm of like, okay, somebody killed them, or they just wanted to go missing. It's like these are things that were unexplained. And anyway, he's done research on how many people have just gone missing with no explanation, except like we were all hiking, he was here 1 minute, and literally 2 seconds later, in an open field, he's gone. We have no idea where he disappeared to. We haven't found him in 10 years. that kind of thing. And had no reason to disappear whatsoever. So I try to weave topics like that, even if it's in a humorous way. And, if it's entertaining and interesting enough, somebody will actually take it upon themselves to go look it up and try to learn. And that, to me, is kind of a purpose for writing, other than just the pure love of it. But hopefully when people read these books, they're going to think, hey, what the heck is that? And go look it up.
Right. Well, you're also a fan of UFO and alien movies. Can you name your top 10 favorites and why?
Yeah, I can throw some out there. Gosh, when I was a kid, I would date myself now, right? Because remember, you had VHS and Beta. And you go to these stores, you pick which one you're going to rent for your recorder at home. We had this VHS player, and back then it was like $400. I would go to the sci-fi thing, and you could rent like 2 movies for $1 or something. And this little place called Woody's Home Video. I don't know if anybody in my hometown probably remembers that, but it was a million years ago. Things like, I would go through it. I would just pick up sci-fi stuff left and right, and man, I loved it. But if I had to throw a bunch of top 10s out there, there's probably a couple in there. People would be like, "Oh, you're kidding," But They Live. You remember? Just remember that movie. Had Roddy Piper in it.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Yeah, They Live was a great movie. We're all surrounded by aliens. We just don't know it, and they see like in a different way than we do. Somebody developed a special pair of sunglasses. You put them on, all of a sudden you see who the aliens are and who the humans are. And the aliens control everything, which kind of plays into that whole, what's that, reptilian theory, the reptilians living underground that control everything, even the politics. But They Live is a great one. Predator, with Schwarzenegger. A lot of people throw Schwarzenegger's movies in there as like an action film. But because it was an alien, I'd kind of throw that in as like an alien movie, even though if I could throw that one out, I'd put Fire in the Sky in there with the abduction of Travis. Was it Walton? I think it was his name.
I think it was. I think it is Walton.
The movie The Thing with Kurt Russell, not the like old black and white, with the remake Kurt Russell, and was it 1981 or so. Man, that was one of the first sci-fi films I saw. And you talk about something that kind of hooked you on it, that genre for life. Independence Day was wildly popular. I saw it when I was in college. But to this day, that movie kind of still holds up. It's like a angry group of aliens coming here trying to take over the earth. But it was a good movie.
Part 2.
Here's one off the beaten path. What was that?
I said Part 2, Independence Day sucked ass.
Oh, did it? Okay, I never saw it. I get nervous about watching the sequels and remakes because they usually disappoint terribly. But no, I never saw that one. Charlie Sheen was in a movie called The Arrival, and that was back in the 90s. Do you remember that one?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like the Earth was getting hotter. It's like a global warming scenario, but the aliens were doing it so they could terraform the planet for them to live on. So that was kind of cool. He found out about it. But and one of the biggest sci-fi movies of all time when you're a kid, E.T. I remember that came out, and I went to the movie theater to see it.
I really didn't like E.T.
Well, I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but it had that lasting impact,
Yeah.
And I blame that movie for my fascination on Reese's Pieces. So. Got to blame it on something, right? And there was Invasion of the Body Snatchers was a really good one.
Oh, yeah.
The one with Donald Sutherland back in the 70s. Now, the one that was made was in the 50s, the original, that was pretty good. But but I always liked the one with from the 70s. It was like late 70s. And then they remade The Blob in the like late 80s.
Yeah.
And that was good. But the original black and white was good, too.
Mm-hmm.
The Faculty, this is one probably everybody was like, oh, they kidding me. The Faculty was a good movie. It was made in the, I want to say, late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
This new student comes to school, right, in high school, and, like, the nerd finds out that there's an alien there, and they're infecting one person after the next until they can take over the town, and then the goal is to take over the planet that way. So, I mean, I guess they've remade that movie over and over. They just did this one in high school called The Faculty, but that was really good. And the best one, I think, of all time, Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Mm-hmm.
That's still a guilty pleasure movie of mine. Anytime that thing's on, I'm going to stop and watch it. I don't care if it's 2 in the morning and I'm going to bed. If it's on, up for a while. What do you think? Anything missing out of that list? You got some favorites?
Yeah, I can't believe. Well, I guess it's Aliens with Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I forgot all about that one.
Yeah, I like that. I like the storyline and how they. What was it? The first 3 was really good, and then it kind of got stupid, and then it got good again.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like after a while, it's like, oh, what'd you do that one for? Mm-hmm. It's like that Predator franchise. After Predator 2. Whose idea was it to make? Which one?
I love all the Predators. I think they've done good, especially with Predators versus Aliens. I read the comic book before they did the movie, and when they done the movie, I was like, it's not as good as the comic book, but still, yeah, it is good.
Was this the one where they were down in the Arctic? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, I think so. Yes.
See, that was the one that confused me because I was thinking the Predator's it's a hot weather hunter. Like, what the hell is he doing in the Arctic? I was kind of confused. But no, it was an interesting movie, but I was kind of wondering, like, why the hell are they in the Arctic? Should they be like in the jungle somewhere? and the Predator's just awesome. I mean, he's a tough. I mean, they call him the Predator for a reason, right? He's badass.
Mm-hmm. I like the end of it, especially the one with the part 2, where he gives Danny Glover that old pistol.
Oh, yeah, with oh gosh, it had like some gunslinger's name on it too, and then I forgot who it was.
Yeah, and just showing respect. I was like, wow, there you go.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, if I were an alien, I'd grab some old gunslinger's gun too.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, I was like, when I watch Alien versus Predator, it's like, man, those things are bad, man. How do they kill 2 of them in the first 10 minutes? I was kind of disappointed. Like, they killed 2 of them. There's one left, man. This movie's going to be 5 minutes longer. But, no, but those are all good movies. But the Alien films are awesome. Especially, the second one, I think probably the second one a little bit better than the first one. They're both good.
Mm-hmm.
And, so can't go too wrong. Sigourney Weaver don't pick too many duds for movies, I don't suppose.
Sigourney Weaver used to be hot back in the day too, but she didn't age well.
Well, she was Dana Barrett in Ghostbusters, so she forever has a spot in my heart, I suppose.
Yeah.
Even though she's turned into a dog, floats 10 feet above her covers. So other than that, she's all right. But no, but those are good movies.
Well, what's your thoughts about alien abductions, animal mutilations, and crop circles?
Oh wow, that's a lot to digest there, isn't it? Alien abductions, I think probably a lot of them that people claim are kind of hoaxed, or some psychosomatic thing, or I don't know, some weird lucid dream. Has it happened with that guy Travis Walton? I think there was enough there that, he even had witnesses that said they saw the lights. They disappeared. They went back, and so I think these things possible. Cattle mutilations, I'll give you a goofy answer because I think what it is there's capitalism out in outer space because you have to. It's too big. It's a Wild West out there, and somewhere at the rim of the galaxy, there's a burger joint. And we got the best intergalactic damn burgers anywhere, so they come here and rip the cow asses out, take it with them, right? So I don't know. Cattle. That's kind of. There's all kinds of like other explanations for those too. Like what is the chupacabra? I mean, people would blame cattle mutilation south of the border on the chupacabra that no one's seen, right? That mysterious beast that's still out there, elusive. But, if you watch documentaries on like even in Yellowstone, wolves in Yellowstone and coyotes, they attack the backside of animals first and literally eat from that end. And they've seen where, like but it's happened that way too with animals. But then again, there's so many, like, I find the odd thing about animal mutilations, if you actually draw a straight line across the country and put dots where they happened, they happen along like a certain ley line. You ever notice that?
Yeah. What I used to know that ley line grid number because it actually goes right out here out here in front of my yard, and because I got the map.
Dead cow out there, give me a call.
Well, I got cows around here and horses and stuff, and thank goodness ain't none of them's had their asshole chewed out or their face, our eyeballs sucked out. But if I do, I will call.
Or it could be Bubba Hotep. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, that mummy that was loose.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, you got to put that on your must-see list. That was hilarious.
Okay.
As far as these crop circles go, I mean, they've literally had people go out and show you how they do them. But then how do they happen? Like, how do you have one that takes up an entire field and have 6 people coordinate that perfectly? I don't know. There's some that are obviously been hoaxed, and people come out and said, yeah, I did that. But then there's some that's just so elaborate. It's like, how the hell does anybody? This guy who can barely read a 5th grade level goes out and mathematically has something perfect for half a mile. I don't know. It's kind of. I just because I knew people had hoaxed it, I hadn't read enough about them to really even have any kind of educated guess on them. But I do find it really weird that strange things happen along those ley lines, and it's not just like cattle mutilations or crop circles or anything like that. It's like any other mysterious sightings of things. I'm not. For all I know, the Mothman, like Point Pleasant, may be on a ley line, and Skinwalker Ranch may have a ley line going through there, and then you see people have sightings of weird things they can't explain. I don't know. Tough call. What do you think of them?
Well, if you look at the ley line, which I looked here just to see how close it was to where I live, and I never thought it'd be in my damn driveway. It ain't just only mutilations. There's a lot of UFO sightings, like you said, crypto sightings within that ley line, and when you look at it all the way around the planet, I can't remember the degree. I wish I could remember it, but this happens on that ley line, this one particular ley line, all around the planet.
Yeah, there has to be some kind of explanation along those lines, no pun intended, for some of those things. Mm-hmm. But it's hard to tell. It's definitely worth doing research on, because if you take even looking at other cultures, like if you go down to Louisiana, for example, and you have a lot of voodoo and hoodoo and other types of religions. How many curses and things do you see down there? And I guess what the Rougarou is a good example. And the Cajun werewolf, things like that. How often do you hear of those things in these other cultures where people have seen things that are unexplainable? Or I guess that kind of fits into the whole crypto thing, but cryptozoology. But we're still trying to find out everything that's on this planet. Scientists discover something new every day. What was it back in the 50s? Somebody caught a fish off of an island somewhere in the Pacific, and it was called a coelacanth, and they thought it had been extinct since the Jurassic period. But yet there they were. They found them. So who knows what else is out there that we haven't discovered? We know more about outer space than we do our own ocean.
Now that's true. Well, what do you think about your opinion about Egypt and the Great Pyramid and all the pyramids? Because you said you watch Ancient Aliens a lot, which I used to. I watch it a little bit now and then. But you know how they connect the lines where the Great Pyramid's pretty much at the center point of our planet. And with all these other cultures, they're thousands and thousands of miles away, even having oceans separating them. And then they have pyramid-shaped temples and structures.
Sure, the Mayans, the Aztecs.
And the Chinese.
Yeah. And and half of what's over in China we don't even know about because they don't let people in to explore. So there's probably a lot more going on there than we'll ever know. I think it's neat how when you look at the pyramids, no matter where you're looking at them, they somehow astrologically match up with certain constellations. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing that people have noticed. And by matching up, I mean, mathematicians have said it was almost like an exact replica on a small scale here on Earth to mimic constellations. Another thing I find very fascinating about them is the fact that, one, they didn't have any of the technology to build those things, for starters, because these blocks were like, how many slaves would it take to carry the top piece of a pyramid to the top, without killing half the people or tearing it up or dropping it 1,000 times? Yeah, so how do they even do that? And then when you look at the structures of them, and then you look at, for example, UFO sightings, for going back for ages, they kind of look the same. How many pyramid-shaped UFO sightings have there been?
Oh, they've been a lot.
Probably, a lot. So, were they meant as an energy source? Were they built for that? Were they built for? And what was the purpose of them? So, I think if we can find out more about what the purpose of them and why they match astrologically, then we probably would have a lot more answers. But those things just haven't been discovered or found out yet. But who knows if we'll ever know? But I find it very fascinating that they mimic the stars and they're shaped like UFOs that people have seen for the last 50 years sightings. Similarity, probably. So something had to show this structure, this geometry to different cultures on different sides of the world at roughly the same time. So
have you?
There was no traveling back then that fast.
Have you ever heard of the hammer that they found? The iron hammer. Is it iron or lead? Lead hammer they found in London, Texas. That dates back 500 million years ago.
No.
Well, there's a couple that were walking along and they found a rock that had a stick sticking out of it. So they took it home. They thought it was interesting. Well, after they passed away, their son got the rock and he was wanting to know what was in it, with that stick sticking out of it. So he cracked it open and he found a iron hammer in it. So he took it to some university down there in Texas to let them look at it. And the crusting of the rock that encased it dated back to 500 million years ago. And the wood handle, parts of it was turning into coal. And for a piece of wood to turn into coal takes like 300 million years. And scientists still cannot figure out what the hell is going on. And plus the lead that it's made out of is like 98% pure, something that we can't create today.
Wow. That's fascinating. So there's no explanation of how they got there?
Nope. No. That's
so
just
that
like
predates any, man and tools.
Yeah, because man, if you just go by, Homo sapiens, we only date back like 20,000 years, and any bipedal that was walking upright, they date that back anywhere to like 2 million. So there was no humans in the fossil record, nowhere near that timeline.
Oh, that's fast. I don't have to look that up. I'll do some research on that because.
Oh yeah, it's very interesting.
There's all kinds of explanations, and the one that first pops in your head is Like maybe that came from somewhere else and accidentally found its way to Earth.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
who was using a tool and where at? Yeah. Huh.
Oh, I agree. There's all kinds of things out that scientists are still trying to figure out. Like, there's 2 fossilized footprints that actually look like shoe prints, and it looked like whoever stepped in the mud actually stepped on a type of creature that started a Cambrian explosion of life. So they're trying to figure out how is that even possible.
Yeah, when you think about it, when you look around this, it's a small world, but it's a big world, and there's always something odd or strange that you can't explain somewhere. I mean, even little small towns have these little secrets, these questions, whether it's something paranormal or whatever. If you can't help not seeing it if you're not, if you're just halfway paying attention. That's the fun thing about being a writer, because you're always looking for these weird things. You can find anything that's odd you can write about, or make up an entire story about. I think one of the oddest things that I've it's kind of stupid, but one of the oddest things I found from town to town everywhere. Right, coffee makes you hyper, right? But yet coffee shops are designed for people to chill out and relax. Alcohol is a depressant, but yet bars and clubs they're designed for people to be hopping around and have a great time. That's backwards. Why? Why is that? There's an odd question that no one's answered for me yet. You think you go to a coffee shop, just like jump around, have a good time, have a rave? No, I don't get it. If I get to, if I'm going to have drinks here and invite people over, like bring your own beer, we're going to take a nap tonight. Yay. That's life after 30.
That's right.
That's no longer the college years. Come on over, bring some beer, we're going to take a nap. Be sweet. But yeah, you show up at a coffee shop and get all wired up and read a magazine. I don't get it. Random question. Another question I have. Are you a fan of The Walking Dead?
Oh, yeah. Love it.
Okay. A lot of people love this show. But one of the most grossly overlooked threats during the zombie apocalypse is mosquitoes. You don't see one of them in that show. They're everywhere. Those things are like, demons from hell. We're like every zombie movie. I don't see mosquitoes.
Or flies.
I don't know. Or fly. They have to be there.
Yeah, flies, maggots. And plus, how long? I mean, it's like with The Walking Dead right now. I understand when you die, you're going to turn into a zombie. Okay, I got that. But shouldn't it come a point in time where these zombies are decomposing so bad that limbs are falling off and
they're just slush on the side of the road.
They're slush. I mean, yeah. I understand a fresh turn. It might take a couple months, but it shouldn't last. Apocalypse like that.
Yeah, I know. If Rick and that gang had just held on for 3 months, you think it'd been clear sailing. Except for whoever freshly dies, and you just
you just have to pop a knife in the back of your head, or head.
If you catch a cold, sorry about your luck.
Yeah, but you've already figured that out. By then, you figured it out. When somebody dies, regardless of whether they've been bitten, shot, or just die of some kind of disease, okay, they're going to come back as a zombie. I hate it, John, but I got to put a goddamn bullet in your head. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. But 9 years, 10 years later, and you're still fighting herds of them, that's where I kind of like,
Never understood that about those movies, but that's okay. I know it's supposed to be like a reflection of our society, but when what's-his-face did the first one, why am I drawing a blank on the zombie master's name? Dawn of the Dead, that guy. Romero. When he first did those zombie movies, it was like a total reflection on society. But now zombie movies are everywhere. And, we're fascinated with the apocalypse for some reason in this day and age. So sometimes I'll throw Twitter comments out there when I'm plugging one of my books. I hate to interrupt your moment in the apocalypse, but sometimes I get some smart aleck responses back from those, but that's okay. I hate to interrupt the apocalypse.
I hate to interrupt the apocalypse, but buy my book.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. It's like I had a couple of people ask me one time, like, why don't you write traditional horror stuff? You know, why don't you write a zombie story? I'm like, oh my God, it's so overdone. But anyway, I did it anyway. Right. So I put a short story in one of my books called "Run for Your Life, Fat Boy." I made it about what I would do if I woke up one day and like was in the middle of the zombie apocalypse. Like, how does some fat guy survive? You know, because you know you can't outrun them. You know, so it was a fun. But I made it kind of like half zombie story and then half funny. That's one of those where I just totally did a hybrid, kind of like the Evil Dead movies. After the first one, you know, they were just having fun with it at that point.
Yeah.
So, I did that, and then somebody asked me if I wrote a vampire story. So I wrote the weirdest vampire story you will ever read. It's so weird you don't even see the ending coming. Yeah, it's in both of those are in a book called Bedtime Stories for the Terminally Afraid. So if there are horror fans out there that want to read some stuff, check that out. You'll catch the weirdest vampire story you'll ever read, and then the goofiest zombie story you might have read in a while. And enjoy those. And sometimes I'll put just free samples of stuff up on my website so people can go there and read. But just the whole Walking Dead thing. I started off watching it. I haven't watched it in a while though, but people told me it got really good again. So I probably need to pick it back up.
It got really good, and I know I kind of got pissed off of the show. I think it was the show before the last show of the season. I mean, they went on a fucking killing spree this time, killing off a lot of characters, and I was like, damn, didn't see that coming. I kind of figured a couple of them, but not that many.
Kind of worth the show's going to keep going if they kill half the staff off it.
It is.
Like I heard the main character is gone, but did he die or did he just leave the show?
He just left the show. He blew up a bridge, and of course it blew him on the bank, and they were trying to find him, and there was a horde coming in, and what happened? A helicopter came in and picked Rick up and took him away.
A helicopter? Where'd that come from?
It came from one of the ladies, and I can't remember her name, but she kind of had a group in a big ass landfill type place, and she was weird. But apparently she was working with some type of government, our government or somebody, and said that she has one ready. And next thing you know, they came in, took Rick, took her, and now we're ahead something like 6 years in the future or something like that, and no Rick, and everybody's trying to survive without Rick, and like I said, a bunch of other big characters that, you know, you'd think would step up, you know, to take the place of Rick. Hell, most of them are gone now.
Huh. Yeah, I got some catching up to do, it sounds like.
Oh, yeah, I think you'll like it. I mean, what's that fucker's name with the ball bat? I'm not good with names. I'm terrible with names.
Everybody said the comic book was a lot better. I never read the comic either.
Well, see, that's the thing. The comic book is pretty much based on, you know, Rick's son, as he grows as an old man trying to build a society back. And, you know, he's an old man still fighting these fuckers. But no, they killed Rick's son off a couple seasons ago.
Yeah, I knew that. I knew he didn't last. And I guess he had a daughter. Did she last too?
Yeah, she's still there. She's a little girl. I mean, she's like 9, 10, 11 years old, something like that. She's carrying her daddy.
A lot of times fast.
Yeah, she's carrying her daddy's pistol and her brother's, her dad's sheriff's cap, hat, and that was her brother's, but Negan. She's learning a lot from Negan because they have him all jailed up in a basement, but she talks to him and befriended him, and they keep Negan all locked up. Hell, he don't even want to get out. He got out once, and he came back. He said he didn't want to be out there. He'd rather be locked up in the cell. And I was like, damn.
Well, whatever gets him by, right? That's better than having to like fight for your life all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
That kind of apocalyptic world, man.
Well, but if you think about it, that's exactly what would fucking happen. If there was some kind of apocalyptic event going across the world, they would be pockets of people, instead of coming together to build and create and survive, they'd be busy trying to fight each other for what little shit the other one's got.
Well, yeah, power. Yeah, that's what it would boil down to. Yeah, but it's sad. But like I said, there's a lot of movies that are out there that are like that. Like you remember that movie that came out a few years ago called The Happening, when I guess people would, they would breathe something, they would turn into kind of like half zombie or whatever, like Madman. And then this one that was real popular on Netflix, but it was a horrible movie, called Bird Box.
Yeah.
And it had Sandra, what's her name?
Sandra Bullock.
Yeah. And so she was in that, but I guess if you saw something, you turned, right? So I guess they're doing see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil kind of stuff, because there's a new one that came out called The Silence, and I watched it yesterday. And if so these creatures that came out of the ground, like a apocalyptic thing, they're blind, but they followed what they heard. They attacked and killed off all of humanity. People had to walk around and not speak. So it's like something. It's like they're ripping each other's idea off. Just take one of your senses away and see how you survive. And I don't know. At some point, I think it's kind of getting a little overdone. And I don't know how ratings are with some of these shows, but I think especially in the horror genre, there's nothing that hadn't already been done before. And I think they wear it out to no end, and then the genre goes away for a few years, and then it comes back with something else and kind of hangs around for a decade and then gone for a few years. I guess it runs in a cycle like that maybe, but I don't know. I don't know where we're at in that cycle now.
I just think people in Hollywood just have lost their creativity. I mean, it seems like we're in a loop. We're watching the same shit over and over and over, and it's rare to find that movie that, is spectacular, like, something like Star Wars or Gone with the Wind, or, just I don't know. Don't get me wrong now, when it comes to the Marvel and DC movies, I love them. I don't care. I've always wanted that when I was a kid, and they're doing it, and I love it. I don't give a shit what anybody says.
Well, Disney's done a pretty good job of Star Wars for the most part.
Yeah.
Rogue One was really good, I thought. The movie Han Solo didn't do well at the box office, but I thought it was a great movie. To me, I would throw it in the top 5 of all my favorite Star Wars films. But I kind of look forward sometimes to seeing whatever hot genre go away for a while, because when you oversaturate it, you got to build that anticipation back up. Because when horror kind of went away again for a while, then that movie The Conjuring came out. Well, that kind of freaked people out again all of a sudden, and now we have another slew of horror films and a lot of independent films. You'll see now that you got like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and things like that. But sometimes you're right. Hollywood just kind of needs to cool it and stop plagiarizing itself for a while, and then come back a little later on with something fresh.
Yeah, I think we do need some freshness. Well, since we're on the topic of horror, what's your top 10 favorite horror movies and why?
Oh yeah, there's so many of them out there. I love horror. I've watched about every horror film I can get my hands on since I was a kid. I guess when you look at like your top 10 favorites, I've blogged about this stuff, and read about them before, but these are movies that you see that just like make an impact. It's not the same for everybody, right? But Because I remember the first time I saw that movie Witchboard. I don't know if you remember that from the 80s. It had Tawny Kitaen in it, the girl from the Whitesnake video. that's why I remember it the most.
I think I remember it.
She got possessed by a spirit from a Ouija board.
Yeah.
Basically. And tried to kill her fiancé with an axe while she was dressed up like the man that was possessed her. But that was one of those movies that wasn't a great horror film, but when I was younger and I saw that was like, holy cow. Yeah, that really kind of went to your soul, made a difference. But probably one of the biggest ones, Jaws. I don't know how many people consider that like a horror film, but because it's on PBS and whatever other channel all the time. But man, when I saw that when I was a kid, and then we went to the beach for the first time at Myrtle Beach when I was a kid. Oh, I was nervous. I had this nice raft that the parents bought me, and my sister was going to go out in the ocean. I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to be looking for like a fin popping up out of the water. But Jaws, I would definitely make a top 10. The Shining, Jack Nicholson, that version. To this day, that's another one of those guilty pleasure movies. If it's on, I'm going to watch it. Because, man, he played that character, Jack Torrance, so perfect. Like you just felt the rage in that guy just when he turned and looked. He gave you a look, And for those people who like that movie, Stephen King wrote a follow-up book called Dr. Sleep a few years ago. And it was about the little boy Danny when he grew up. And I don't know if they'll ever make a movie of it, but that has got to be hands down one of the best books I've ever read.
Oh, wow.
So if you get a chance to read it, he's just like his dad because he was fighting alcoholism.
Mm-hmm.
But he has The Shining, and suddenly, all of a sudden, he used the alcohol to kill The Shining, so he didn't have that ability. But all of a sudden, it came back. And he forced himself to quit drinking at some point so he could try to, survive because he was trying to kill it, and it was dulling all of his senses. But it was a really great book, so if anybody wants to check that one out. After you read one of mine, go get Dr. Sleep, Stephen King. It was excellent. The Evil Dead, remember that one?
Yes.
That was one bloody movie. And when you're a kid in the 80s and you see something like that, but as you get older, you realize it was kind of goofy in a way because they were just having fun with it. And especially when they made the second one. And then what was the third one they came out with?
Is that the one where he went back in time as a knight? Yeah. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, I remember.
I'll think of it about 3:00 in the morning. But yeah, that was a good series. The Evil Dead was one of them that always made a difference. And I know these aren't like everybody's favorite horror films, but just as the greatest of all time, like the Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street franchises, those things dominated the 80s in that genre, and every other slasher film was just chasing them. And I know Halloween was a great film, and they had several follow-ups, but even they were kind of chasing what Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street were doing.
Well, Halloween
I guess they just made a big difference.
Well, Halloween was the first movie I ever seen in an indoor theater. And I was like 9 years old, and I was like, what made me remember the most about that movie was the titties. It wasn't nothing about killing. It was like, titties? I'm 9 years old and I'm seeing titties?
Yeah, I was never like a huge fan of Halloween, but if you saw that when you were 9 years old, I'm surprised that didn't creep you out because.
It did. It every time now I hear the music, I kind of get this weird feeling. I mean, it ain't that I'm scared or anything. It's just a weird. It's hard to explain. It's just a weird feeling. It's like it's uncomfortable, maybe.
Yeah, you're right. It is because they didn't have a lot. I don't even know if they even had any blood in it, did they? Because even when he stabbed that guy and he was hanging on the wall, you didn't see it. But the creepy thing was like just how he kind of turned his head like a dog sideways and looked at him, And he was like, oh, that guy's an animal. And that's subtly, like, when you think about it now, you relate it to that. Like, holy smokes. Like, he really has no humanity. But, I like what they did, what John Carpenter did with those movies because he borrowed a really good, strong theme from the Twilight Zone. That bad things can really happen in Eisenhower's America, small-town America, that you're supposed to be safe. It's supposed to be Mayberry. But there's always that boogeyman in the darkness, you know? And it's kind of, so he borrowed that, like, that thing that you're nervous because you can't see it. You don't see it coming. But it can happen right in your own little town, you know? So, yeah, that was what made me nervous to watch it the first time. But I wasn't 9 years old. I was much older when I saw it. But, yeah, I can see how that would have a big impact. That movie, Scream.
Yeah.
I know that's probably not a popular one for a lot of people as being one of the best of all time, but I wrote about it before because what I liked about it was that horror, I guess, after the 80s and all the slasher films, I guess they'd run their course and everything was so saturated with it that people just stopped going. And horror kind of like died off for a while. And then all of a sudden, after a few years, like back in like 96, I think it was, here comes Scream. Yeah. And they literally picked everything that we thought was so cliche about movies in the 80s and made it part of it. So, like, even I didn't feel left out watching it. You know, they were kind of making fun, like, yeah, you never say that, you know. Don't say I'll be right back, or, you know, don't go running into that cemetery. You know what's going to happen. But yet I don't know, it was a good film to me, and it still kind of is a good film. The first two were pretty good. I don't know about after that, but and the Japanese made a bunch of creepy stuff in the 90s.
Oh, God, yeah.
Remember that movie, The Ring? That was based off of a Japanese movie? That was creepy. I got to see that in the movie theater. So that was really unique to me because I'd never really seen anything like from Japanese lore. And so Hollywood stole that one and made it. And that was really, I thought, deserved like more credit than it got. I guess as an all-time list. But I guess the crescendo of all of them is The Exorcist.
Yes.
Because how do you get any worse than that? And that was made in the 70s, right? And it was such shock value, even to this day. Like, nobody's bothered to remake it because how can you?
Yeah.
You know, Linda Blair, you're not going to find somebody that does a better job in that role.
I mean, it even creeped her out. She was, you know, a kid actress, but what I've read about The Exorcist, when it went to the theaters, they were people passing out, people throwing up, people panicking and running out of the theater.
Didn't a lady have a heart attack and die?
Yeah.
One of them?
Yeah. I mean, they actually, that's when they started that SEC putting all these new ratings on movies and stuff.
Yeah, the ratings, the FEC came in hard on that, didn't they?
Yeah, they sure did.
But that was a beast of a movie. Now, I'll give Fox credit because Fox had 2 seasons of a show called The Exorcist, and I really wish they'd have got picked up on Netflix because when Fox dropped them, the whole premise of it was Reagan McNeil, the girl that was possessed. She's all grown up now, but she changed her name and she was married and had 2 daughters. And no one knew her husband didn't even know who she was. You know, she just had this life, and he never knew that she had changed her name from Reagan McNeil until her daughter got possessed by the same demon that wanted to come back and possess Reagan again. And it was, I'm trying to think of the actress that played her. But the 2 daughters, they did a great job because in that. And the guy who played the husband was the same guy from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Cameron. That guy, whatever his name is. But I can't think of the name. Gina Davis. She's the one who played Reagan McNeil in the TV show. But it was really good. So hopefully they'll do another run of that. If you ever get a chance to see it, you might like it. But here's one that's, I don't like this movie, but it has to be in the top 10. Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
That movie just disturbs me on a visceral level. You know, I'm just not a fan of it. But you know, when you look at that movie, it was so impactful that if that movie hadn't been made, half the slasher films of the 80s don't get made.
Mm-hmm.
Rob Zombie don't turn out to be Rob Zombie making what he makes.
Yeah.
As far as films are concerned. And just the fact that it probably had an impact on pop culture to some degree. It was such a raw, visceral film that even the remakes that people have made fell way short. I don't know if you've seen any of the remakes.
Mm-hmm.
But they go for blood and gore just for blood and gore.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do that without having those characters the way they were. I don't know.
But to have a movie like that based on a man that really didn't use a chainsaw, but killed women and used their skin for furniture.
Ed Gein. Who it was? Ed
Gein. Ed Gein. Yeah.
Out of Wisconsin, wasn't it?
Yep.
He was just a heartless, man had no soul. I don't know how people, but yeah, the fact that they base that, on that, but that's stuff that you never know who your neighbor is sometimes, that's another thing that made you nervous is, you show up at this house and here's this diabolical family and their only purpose there is to laugh at your misery. Torture. It's just, how do people get that way? But when you realize it was based off a real guy,
not only Texas Chainsaw Massacres were based off of that, Psycho was too, off of Ed Gein.
Yeah. And another film that has to be in the top 10. I'd love to throw Salem's Lot in there. If I could kick one out and put Salem's Lot in. Just as a personal favorite of mine, but Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
That was, if that movie hadn't been made, that really kind of biblical horror. If that movie doesn't get made, I don't see The Omen getting a push to get funding to get made, or for that matter, back in the '90s, The Devil's Advocate. Because here you are again with, trying to give rise to an Antichrist. And so those types of movies, I don't think, get made if that movie had flopped. But to this day, it's still a cult classic, Those are some pretty, powerful movies in the cultural landscape from the horror side. That, if some of those movies don't get made, half the other ones don't. That we've seen since then.
Now, there's one movie I watched back in the 80s called Demon Night. Now, that one kind of messed with me a lot. I can't watch that movie again. I watched it that one time, but I can't watch it again, and I can't understand why, because I've watched all kinds of other horror movies, and it doesn't really bother me.
Billy Zane, and he had he was a demon, and they had this veil. This one guy had this veil that had the blood of Christ in it to keep them across the portal. Is that the one you're talking about?
No, this is like these people are in a theater watching a horror movie, and this one lady goes into the bathroom and somehow she turns into a demon, and she starts attacking people, and it's bloody for that time and era, and as young as I'm pretty sure it's called Demon. I could be wrong. It might be called something else, but I could swear it's Demon Night. But the one with Billy Zane, I really like that one, but it might be a different demon something. But I thought it was Demon Night. But yeah, I like the concept of one with Billy Zane. I like Billy Zane. I think he's a good actor. I think they need to use him because he brings that comedic aspect to a situation, whether he's the good guy or the bad guy, and it's just his person. It's got to be just his personality that comes out.
Yeah, he wasn't used too much. I think he got typecast, but yeah, he had a pretty good range. He was good in the movies he was in. And he was in some of those were Tales from the Crypt movies, weren't they? That was a really good show from HBO.
Yeah.
Back in the day. I really wish somebody would come back out with something like another Tales from the Crypt, or make a movie like Creep Show again that has maybe 3 or 4 short stories. When I started writing my short story books in the horror genre, that's initially what I was hoping something would happen with. That it kind of, you know, if anybody ever stumbled onto the book and wanted to make movies out of or short films out of the stories, that it would kick off another Creep Show kind of thing, or Tales from the Crypt, because they were.
There was a show in the 80s, Tales from the Dark Side?
Yes.
I loved that show. I wish they'd come back with something like that.
Yeah, that was a really good one. Now, you'll see that replayed once in a while on like MeTV or one of those channels. But I haven't seen it in a while, but I really wish they'd bring it back too. That was good stuff. They hate to say it. I mean, I don't want to sound like, you know, aging myself, but they just don't make them like that anymore.
No, they don't. You know, the writers in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and 90s, man, they knew their shit. And the writers today, when it comes to horror movies, it's just like I watched Halloween, the 40th anniversary, and I'm like, why are we trying to watch what happened 40 years ago replay itself? I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah. You know, it's at some point you got to stop remaking the same thing over and over. I think Rob Zombie did Halloween, did Halloween 1 and 2. And that was a bit of a different twist on them.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what was a really creepy movie? Just maybe they filmed it was Lords of Salem.
Oh yeah.
Like that kind of creeped me out because it was that wasn't the music; it was just how hypnotic it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that was an interesting film too. He's put some interesting stuff out, but you know, they don't get a lot of play. They got some pretty heavy play about 3 or 4 years ago, and not so much lately over the last couple of years. Usually around Halloween time, you see a lot of those on. That's one reason I love October, love Halloween. I get an entire month of I get to watch some of my favorites, like The Fog. Remember The Fog?
Oh, yeah.
Adrian Barbeau. And I love that version.
Yeah.
Again, they don't make them like they used to.
You know, I got a friend of mine, matter of fact, she talked about how she's into horror movies and all this, and I asked her, I said, well, what did you think about The Fog? And she's like, The Fog? What are you talking about? I'm like, you cannot consider yourself a horror buff and not watch The Fog. And she was like,
yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm like, everybody that loves horror has watched that movie. And if they
they did a remake of it, too. Did you get a chance to see that?
Yeah.
That wasn't bad.
Yeah, it was actually good. But I did like the first one. But some of these, when they do a remake, you can sit back and you're like, okay, that was really good. But some of them sit back and you're like, that sucked ass.
Yeah, why bother? I mean, that's why I'm kind of nervous about watching remakes. But I am going to go see the new Pet Sematary because I've heard some pretty good stuff about it.
I didn't like the first
one.
I didn't like the first one. When I seen it, I was like, this is just creepy. It's not creepy good. It's just, don't get me wrong, I love Stephen King. I love his shit, love his work, but I don't know, that Pet Sematary I just can't get into it.
And the second one was actually really cheesy.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't like it at all. But I heard this remake was not too bad, so I'm going to give it a try. I try to give things a try. Conjuring was good. Conjuring 2 was okay. But I don't know, some of it just gets old. But,
I like The Conjuring. The lady that wrote the book about where the movie came from, I got to interview her when I first started this show, and she's fascinating. I got to get her back on the show. There's a lot of things that she couldn't talk about at that time because she was in some kind of legal battle with the makers of The Conjuring over, I guess, some things that they rewrote or I don't know, trying to get
licensing fee. I don't know. It was just a big legal mumbo jumbo that I was like, well, this is going to be a short interview then.
Yeah, they probably say one thing and then take liberties with stuff. Yeah, it's kind of one of those dreams. Like, yeah, I always kind of hope somebody see one of my books and make a movie out of it. But then when they screw it up, I don't probably hire a couple of people to write the screenplay. But I went through the trouble of writing one of my books into a screenplay just in case. So, yeah, I'm not holding my breath or anything. But, yeah, I think, we're definitely in the culture ready for some fresh ideas and some new twists on things. So hopefully that's one reason why I like to follow a lot of independent writers, because you follow these writers that people know they're going to sell. It's the same kind of thing. And to me, it's a little old. And if you're not looking for something new, you're not really growing. As a reader or a fan, or even as a writer or filmmaker.
Yeah. Well, I got one more question because we're running out of time.
Yeah.
Well, have you ever had any experiences, with the paranormal or any crypto experiences?
I had, this is kind of weird. I had a few years ago. I went to Lynchburg for a business meeting, and I stayed at this hotel downtown. And it was a chain hotel now. I think it was Holiday Inn Express. But initially, it was one of the oldest buildings in town, and they refurbished it. They remodeled it, and so I had to get up early the next morning. So I was in this one room. I think it was on the second floor or third floor. And then on the room on either side of me were two other people that were going to be at the meeting the next day. So I had this room to myself, and the weirdest thing, it was the middle of winter. It was as cold as it could be, and it was burning up in that room, and I had the window open. I turned the heat off, and it was still just sweltering hot. I couldn't understand the heat that was in there. Long story short, the TV would turn itself on and off. And I was looking to make sure I didn't lean against the remote control because I was reading while I was sitting on the bed. And then I put the remote control on the nightstand. TV was on. Wasn't 2-3 minutes later, it turned itself off. And I thought, God, okay, that's weird. So I turned it on again and put it back on the table. Turned itself off again. So I thought, that's really weird. So I get up and go to the other side of the room and turn the TV back on. And I go over and I wiggle the plug-in, the outlets, and make sure that everything was kind of hooked into the TV good. So everything was fine, good connection. And I thought, okay, fine, I'll turn it off. And I go back over to the bed. Mind you, the remote control is now on the other side of the room on a table, a round table by the window that was cracked open and hot as hell in there. 5 minutes later, as I'm reading this stuff, we're going to have to go over the next morning, the TV cuts itself on. Okay, that's a new one. Weird, right? So eventually I got to the point where I unplugged the TV, and I go to the bathroom and brush my teeth and everything, turn the light out, come back in. I close the window because I don't want to freeze to death in the middle of the night in case whatever the heat decides to get better. I'm laying there as I'm kind of drifting off to sleep. For whatever reason, something woke me up. And then when I rolled over, it was you hear that fan?
Yeah.
The fan and the overhead light were on in the bathroom. I turned them off when I left. And I thought, now that is weird. The next morning, even though the TV didn't do anything weird, I got up, packed everything up. As I was leaving, I noticed the TV was plugged in again.
Oh.
I thought, God, that is a weird. And then let's unplug. The weirdest thing. Anyway, I got out of there. I talked to a lady who was a paranormal investigator about it several years later, and she said, "Well, without doing an investigation, but she said it sounds to me like something was desperately trying to get your attention." And I thought, man, that's a little much, So I was, for the life of me, I was trying to find rational explanations for all that weird stuff that was happening. Why, if the heat wasn't on, was it so hot with the window open and at about 15 degrees outside? I don't know. Just weird stuff. But yeah, that was interesting. So yeah, hopefully I never see anything like that again, because I'd hate to wake up and see something standing at the foot of the bed, and, soil the bed properly, and definitely need a shower after that. If I want to have to see stuff like that, somebody's gonna have to give me a heads up, so I wear diapers. That's a little much. I don't know if I could go to a place like Waverly Hills without a pair on.
Dang. I know one time I woke up, and, I just felt like something was staring at me. I opened my eyes and I seen a face that was just ripped to shreds, glowing red eyes, and this fucking shitty ass grin, and these like white teeth. And when I first seen it, I was like, I can't be seeing this. And I closed my eyes and opened them again, and it was still there. And when I tried to jump up out of the bed at it, it just smiled and shook its head and went out the door. I couldn't move. So, some people.
I would either. I would. Wow.
Some people told me, they're like, that's a night terror or something like that. It may have been, but I tell you, it seemed real, and I could actually see the door open and shut. And then, a few seconds, I was able to get up. And when I jumped up and went to the door to see, chasing after it, it was gone.
Yeah, I know at Phantom Fest we met quite a few paranormal investigators, and I even bought Bill Reap's book on how to do an investigation, just out of curiosity. Not that I'm ever going to go on one. I'll leave that to somebody else. But, but that fascinates me that people will do that. And I watch these shows like Dead Files and some of those others. I think some of them just try to glorify it to make, ratings, but then some people are probably a little bit more legit. I don't know, because I'd say most of it you get it debunked anyway. But I don't know. I leave that to other people. That's being a writer, you're going to be a half an expert in a whole bunch of stuff. But that's one thing I don't want to be an expert in, is going around rattling the dead's cages. So I'll leave that to you guys.
Okay.
You let me know how that works out later.
Okay.
There's your book. There's what you could write a book on.
Well, I've actually had one that I sent to, she's going to kill me, Rhonda, from the Gypsies. And she's a professor, and I sent her all the information about the investigations we done in Pocahontas, and she's supposed to be putting it together for a book, which I don't know if she's done it yet or going to or whatever, but she said it was really interesting and she really wanted to do it. So I don't know. Hopefully, because I think it'd be something interesting for people to learn, because I put a lot of the history along with our investigations to tie it all in. And so I don't know. But what's your plans for the rest of 2019? Any projects that you're working on?
Yeah, I got this book called Revelation Calling coming out next month. I'm going to be kind of pushing the Gonzo Chronicles of Barry Dick, the Supernatural Sleuth. So that's going to be some funny stuff. I'm going to be working. I've already started part 2. If you like the first one, you're going to love the second one because it's even crazier. And it's even some more interesting supernatural topics in there. I've got several book signings coming up. I've got one at Abingdon this weekend at the Highlands Writers Fair at the library. I'll be in Tazewell on the 27th at that library from 9 to 1. And then I've got book signings at Whitfield at the Big Walker Mountain Overlook up there a few times between June and September. So folks, come out and see me. I'll post up my itinerary on my website, CyrusAlderwood.com. And just hopefully everybody will take a chance to read my work.
Okay. Do you have any way that, like a website or anything, anybody can get a hold of you if they got any questions or want to get, a copy of your book?
Yeah, CyrusAlderwood.com, or you can email me at cyrus.alderwood@gmail.com if you want to PayPal me for a signed copy or meet up somewhere. And I'm on social media, Facebook and Twitter. Just search Cyrus Alderwood. And, if you like horror, you like comedy, I look at it this way. Growing up in the 80s, when two of your biggest influences are Freddie Krueger and Rodney Dangerfield, you get a ride with me. So just pick up the books and enjoy the story. Buy the ticket, take the ride, in the words of Hunter S. Thompson.
Well, I hope that you're planning on coming to Fan Fest again this year. We'd love to have you again. This year, we oh my gosh, I can't believe how when I started reaching out for people to be speakers and special guests, how it blew up. I mean, I'm actually having to put, a waiting list for speakers now because, we're going to rent out 2 rooms for speakers, and I've got them full, and I might end up having to get a 3rd one with the people we've got waiting. And I hate to put anybody on a waiting list, but dang, man, within a month and a half, we were booked as far as speakers. And like I said, special guests. That is. I love it. Got a lot more vendors, quite a few more different vendors that are interested in coming. And I mean, we got people that are coming from Oregon, from New York, New Jersey, Florida. I just cannot believe.
Yeah, I'll plan on being there. So hopefully we'll all have a good time, getting a big crowd here, and hear some good guest speakers and talk a little bit about everything.
Oh yeah. That's the reason why when I created it, I wanted it to be about all genres. A lot of cons have just one area that they want to focus on. I wanted to focus on everything. I think it gives everybody a better chance to meet people that write different type of research, different types of whether investigations or so forth, and I'm proud of how it's grown just within 1 year.
Yeah, I see you get a lot more interested. So it should be a good festival this year. I'll plan on being there.
Oh, awesome. Well, bud, I'll let you go, and I appreciate you coming on the show. I had a great time. I love talking about all these different subjects because I'm the type of person I'll talk to leg off.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm a jack of all trades with all these things. Yeah, you write about it. You have to be kind of an expert in a lot of stuff. Sort of, anyway. The best I can be. But I appreciate you having me on the show and appreciate people tuning in to listen tonight.
Okay, bud. Well, I'll let you go. You have a great weekend. If there's anything you need, just give me a holler, and you're welcome to come back anytime.
Will do. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers, bud. I want to thank Cyrus Alderwood for coming on the show. We have nothing but respect for him and his writing and the job he's doing. Like I said, we welcome him back anytime. Next Thursday night, April 18th, our special guest will be comedian Derek Sheen. So everyone be prepared to giggle, laugh, have fun, because I bet you this guy is going to lay the smackdown. But everyone, please have a safe weekend, and get a chance, go out in the woods. Go out, everything, it's spring. It's getting warmer. Just go outside. It's time to enjoy some nature. But again, I appreciate y'all that's listening. You all have a good night. Nothing but love for you all. Till next week. Ciao. That's it for us tonight. I want to thank everyone that took the time to listen in. I'd like to give a big shout out to the Vibe Radio Network and to Ryan for putting up with us. Also to all the first responders and our men and women in the armed services. Thank you for your service and the sacrifices that you and your families make every day to keep our great nation safe. Tune in next week to another exciting show starting at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Everyone can go to our Facebook page Within the Chaos, and don't forget to like our page to see upcoming guests along with past shows, postings, or you can also go to my website at www.blackdiamondps.org or blogtalkradio.com/Vibe Radio Network. Also, we have a YouTube channel, so go to YouTube,
Look up Within the Chaos for past shows. Thanks again. Until next week, everyone have a safe weekend and have a good night. And love you all. Be careful out there.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. Those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!